Christian Leibl-Cote. Is that close enough?
I'm impressed. Close. That's close enough.
You know, with my name, I'm very forgiving. So if it was close enough, I'll take it. As Senior Vice President of Global Business, Christian is responsible for strategic global partnerships and new business development. In this role, he delivers exceptional service to Collette's travel partners. He is also responsible for leading the business and growth efforts in our international offices located in Australia, the United Kingdom, and Canada. Christian joined Collette in 2007. He holds an MBA from Babson College and a bachelor's degree in business from the University of New Hampshire. Welcome, Christian.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, it's good to see everyone. There's a lot of similar faces, and it's great. It's been a very long time. You know, travel. I haven't traveled for the first time in actually next week will be exactly 12 months. Not that I'm counting the days or anything like that. But my wife has been asking me to leave the house for the last 6 months because I usually typically travel on a weekly basis, and she's just going crazy. And my kids are doing the same thing. They're asking me to leave as much as possible. But anyways, look, what's exciting is I am seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And so I'm going to go over a presentation about it. It's a phenomenon called revenge spending. This is not something new. So I'll share my screen with all of you. Hopefully I'm going to do it the right way. Can everybody see it?
Yes, looks good, Christian.
Can you all see the full screen?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to start. So since I've been already introduced, I don't need to reintroduce myself. But you know, one of the things that we want to talk about it, and Jim and I spent a lot of time, you know, in the last year going over the whole crisis and talking about everything that's going on. And we had a meeting with a company called MasterCard, who's a big partner of ours. And MasterCard basically did a study 6 months ago on revenge spending. And like I said, this is not a phenomenon that's just recent. This has been going on for a very long time, but it only typically happens right after a crisis, a natural disaster or a terrorist attack or something that affects the world, essentially. So 9/11 was a perfect example. The Great Recession in 2009 is another example. And so what revenge spending is essentially it's a swell of resentment as a result of COVID-19. And so what consumers are doing is they retaliate by using the big US dollar. That's essentially what they're doing, right? And I'll give you many reasons why this phenomenon does happen. So essentially, the travelers that had travel plans in 2020, unfortunately, all of their plans were canceled. So what they're looking to do is they're really trying to look at ways of going on more trips, going on longer trips because they have the funds, because they didn't travel in 2020. The other thing, too, you're going to hear from me throughout this whole presentation is that travel, a lot of people always thought that travel was a luxury, but it's become more of a necessity now. People need to travel. They need to go and experience the culture, the differences. They want to be able to travel. So it's really become a need and not necessarily a luxury anymore. So what were the key industry trends that the credit card companies were seeing? Well, MasterCard saw one of the things that the big number one thing is that credit card debt has seen this biggest decline in 7 years. And the reason why, and many reasons why, is because a lot of people were using the stimulus money to pay off the debt. Other people were refinancing their mortgages because of low interest rates, and they were paying the bad debt with their refinance, right? So what they're doing essentially was trying to get rid as much as possible of credit card debt, which is a good thing for MasterCard. MasterCard, that's what they want to see, because then that's what's the start of what revenge spending, the trend. What people are doing also now is they're buying now and they're paying later. So one of the things that you saw is fitness equipment. the Peloton. I'm sure all of you have heard about the Peloton, and you can buy your Peloton right now. You're going to have to wait 6 to 9 months to get it now, but you can buy your Peloton and pay it later. And there's a company called Affirm now that's the lending company. So a lot of people, what they're doing is they're managing their cash flow in a much better way, essentially. And so if they want to renovate, well, they were refinancing their house and they're using that the extra cash to be able to renovate on their house. So people literally were just spending, buying now but spending later. The other thing too that was happening is that people were saving by default and not by design. Well, what does that mean? Essentially, well, people weren't able in the last year to really go out in the restaurants. So restaurants, bars, credit card spend has declined significantly in most areas of the United States. And so people were saving a lot of money. My perfect example is my twin boys weren't able to play any sports for 6 months. So just with that, I saved quite a bit of money with that. But that was something, it wasn't something by design, that was just by default. And so that's what created revenge spending. So people were spending a lot of money on renovation. The number one thing that people were spending money throughout this whole crisis was renovation, renovating their house. Our house was the same thing. People wanted, when you're spending 12 months in the same house, you're seeing all the, things that you don't like anymore. But if in a normal year, you don't spend that much time in your house. So renovation is one of the things that people are spending a lot of money. Furniture, fitness equipment, these are all things that people were doing. And that's what created revenge spending. And now what we're seeing for the travel industry is we're starting to see that now. And I'll explain why. Personal saving rate. I think Jeff Roy yesterday showed these stats, and I want to show it again because it's that important. During the whole crisis, you saw a significant amount of savings that people were doing in March. And the reason why is because, like I said before in the previous slide, it wasn't something that they were trying to do. It's just that, unfortunately, they couldn't spend as much money as they wanted to. So you saw a significant increase in March, 61% increase. In June, that was almost 170% increase in savings. So what this chart is showing is that basically people have a lot more money than what the previous year, right? They're saving a lot more, and so they have an ability to spend a lot more. So what's the consumer trends? What are we seeing right now? So MasterCard spent a lot of time with us, and one of the things is that 53% of North Americans have said that the pandemic has changed the way they buy. People are buying online. They're buying their groceries online, which was something that previously was a very slow trend, but now everybody wants to buy online, or a lot of people want to buy online because they just don't feel comfortable going to the grocery store in many areas, especially during the height of the crisis. So online shopping has increased significantly to the point where a lot of experts were saying that we've surpassed the expected trend, that by 2025, we were supposed to hit online shopping at a certain level. Well, we've already hit it in 2021. So we're way ahead in online shopping. But the thing for travel, though, that hasn't really changed because consumers couldn't buy travel because there was really nowhere to go. Really, domestically was the only thing. But even then, travel went down significantly, where the volume of flights every day was down almost 90% at some point. So what people were doing is they were really dreaming. They were researching. They were looking at what can we do in the future, in 2021, and 22, and 23. They were essentially planning. They were looking. That's what we were seeing. So, and not only we were seeing this, but our partners were seeing this. MasterCard was seeing this. American Express was seeing the same thing. People were researching and looking at opportunities for travel. And what we're seeing now is that actually just recently, we're starting to see the floodgate open up a little bit more and more and more for revenge spending on travel. So what will travel look like? Well, travel, after any crisis that affects the world, travel rebounds significantly. And I mentioned this before. Travel used to be thought as a luxury, and now it's become a need. And especially when you deny everybody to travel for very long periods of times, 12 months, people have to travel. They want to travel. And travel could be in many ways. Driving to a destination, it could be just a hotel stay, it could be a beach day, it could be a tour, it could be a cruise. People want to be able to travel. And what Dr. Pierre Berkenhoff, he's a teacher out of the University of Australia in Queensland, basically said that he's been he studied the travel industry for decades, has said that after every single crisis around the world, travel is always the one that rebounds the most right after the crisis is over. So, you can see also that 65% of travelers that have been surveyed by Booking.com were saying that they're excited to travel again. They want to travel again. But what the more important number is that 61% are more appreciative of travel. These are big numbers, especially during the crisis. And this was taken 4 months ago at the height of the crisis, where you could see basically after Thanksgiving, the cases kept going up and up and up. But people want to be able to travel. And the other thing too is that it's human nature for humans to socialize, and they haven't really been able to socialize the way they want to for the last 12 months. So travel gives them that opportunity, especially group travel. People want to be able to travel with their friends, their families. They want to be able to meet people. They want to be able to meet people in the destination that they're in. They want to be able to experience the culture. Those are things that are missing, that people haven't been able to do in 12 months. And they want to be able to do it as soon as possible. There's even other countries around the world right now that actually some of the airlines and cruise lines worked with the governments on being able to offer sightseeing flights or cruises to nowhere. Singapore is a perfect example on this slide, where sightseeing flights were sold within minutes. Singapore Airlines offered flights where you were flying to nowhere for 5, 6, 7 hours at a time, but people wanted to be able to be on a plane. Cruises to nowhere, where they were 2, 3, 4 night cruises. They were just going, it's just so it was in the ocean. And basically they were selling out within a day. In Australia, they had flights to go over Antarctica. The tickets were selling for thousands and thousands of dollars for economy class to be able to fly over Antarctica and then just come back to the same airport that you flew out of. That's what you could see that people were willing to spend the money and they want to be able to travel. In South Korea, you were allowed to to buy a ticket to be able to experience the airport because people were missing the airport so much. So really you can see around the world, that's what's happening. And then in the United States, what we're seeing is that we're seeing a surge in travel in the last few months. Every day you can see that more and more people are traveling. There's more and more flights available on a daily basis, which is great, which is really good news. So what are we seeing for trends from our point of view? Well, domestically is something that we're seeing. There's a lot, for May and up all the way to early fall, domestic travel is very, very popular. National parks is our #1 trending destination right now domestically. And one of the things that we had a meeting with the national parks, and one of the things that they said, which was very encouraging, is that they're going to be lifting all restrictions on May 21st if the virus continues to decline at the rate that it's declining. And since the height of the pandemic in early January, we've declined by 77%, which is great news, and hoping that with this continues, right? So the national parks, there will be no restrictions whatsoever starting on May 21st, which is good news. And that's why there's such a high demand. Alaska is another place that's there's a lot of demand for it. Unfortunately, with the Canadian government shutting down the waterways until February of 2022, cruising is going to be very difficult. There's still cruise lines that are trying to figure out if they're going to be able to cruise Alaska, but there is a high demand for land touring in Alaska, and that's what we're seeing. But I can tell you that throughout all of the United States, the demand is there to travel anywhere. People want to go, if you're out of California, people want to go to New England during fall foliage. People want to go to Charleston. They want to go to Nashville, Memphis, and New Orleans. It's becoming a very high demand. And what we're seeing is that groups are booking closer in. So basically, a lot of group leaders and a lot of partners are making reservations for their groups for July of this year. So it's becoming more and more last second. I'm going to play you a video, just a quick video, just so that you can enjoy the sights and sounds of North America. Before I play the video, though, Canada right now, so you know, obviously the borders are closed. The restrictions are pretty high right now. We don't know when Canada is going to reopen up. Our feeling is that most likely July 1st is when Canada will reopen their borders to the United States, but hoping that it's earlier than that. So I'll play a little video for all of you. Every time I watch that video, I always want to. It always makes me feel I miss travel so much. The next trend that we're seeing is Europe is coming back with a vengeance. There's no doubt about it. People haven't been able to travel in a year to Europe, and when you tell people they're not allowed to go to Europe for a long period of time, people want to go to Europe. They want to travel more than ever. And what we're seeing is that obviously the three I's, which is Italy, Iceland, and Ireland, are the most popular destinations right now for bookings. But we're also seeing Switzerland in very high demand. Greece is another one that's in very high demand. And so the good news is this, is that I'm going to show you in a few slides, some where Europe is right now from a vaccination point of view, but we're starting to see some countries try to open up. Greece has just entered a deal with Israel, where now people from Greece or people from Israel can travel between the two countries if they have a vaccination or if they have a negative test. So you're starting to see countries that are breaking out of the Schengen Union, essentially, and making their own decisions on when to open up the borders. So we're here in Greece right now is already in negotiations with the UK. So these are things that are starting to happen because a lot of these countries in Europe, tourism is a significant part of their GDP. And actually, Greece, it's 20% of their GDP. So they need to open up their borders. So, but the good news is this is travel to people feel comfortable to travel to Europe. They want to go to Europe. And you're really looking from July and on is what people are booking right now. May, June is just too early. People feel like most likely the borders will still be closed at that time. South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, is people have the opportunity right now and saying, I haven't traveled in 2020. I want to go to these destinations where I know I'm going to spend a long period of time, because you're not going to fly to Australia, New Zealand and just spend 5 days there. You want to be able to spend 21 days to up to 28 days. Some of our tours are 30 days. So that's an opportunity. In Australia and New Zealand, we're seeing a big demand, but it's not going to open up until most likely January of 2022. Qantas just made an announcement that they've canceled all international travel until October 31st of 2021. So most likely the Australian government is not going to reopen their borders. Same thing with New Zealand until January of 2022. But that can change. We never know. We hope that it does change and that they reopen their borders earlier, but the demand is there for Australia and New Zealand. People feel very comfortable and They didn't travel in 2020, so they're willing to spend more time on a trip. And then I know Costa Rica. I know Jim. Jim spent some time on Costa Rica. Look, the borders are open right now. It's a beautiful destination. It's an amazing destination. And we are looking at running possibly some tours to Costa Rica and Panama in April and in May. So really what we're seeing is that people want to be able to go to Costa Rica. It's a very safe country. They've done a great job throughout the whole crisis. And, the borders are open right now. So there's a high demand for Costa Rica. And I've had the opportunity to go to Costa Rica. It's a great, it's a great trip. And I'll show you a little quick video of Costa Rica.
Desk, period. Excellent. Period. There is going to be, I believe, German chocolate cake up here at the visitor center today. Period. Thank you. They are decorating my front desk as I am finishing up my conference. Period.
Can you share the German chocolate cake with us?
Sure. I haven't got it yet, but I've seen it come in.
Please.
I wish I could join you and have some chocolate cake with you.
Sorry, I was supposed to be on mute. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
Oh,
It happens all the time in Zoom. Don't worry about it. But I'm jealous that you're having German chocolate cake.
It's Friday. Sorry.
It is Friday. I totally
so apologize.
Don't apologize. No worries. Typically, my kids show up in the video and I'm surprised they haven't shown up yet. So the trend I said it quite a few times, is people want longer trips. So what's happening is that people are buying 2 different tours. If they're going to Europe, they're buying a back-to-back tour. They want to be able to spend more time in the destination, less time essentially on planes. They're willing to travel on a plane for 12 hours, 15 hours to Australia. But if you're going to do that, they want to be able to spend 21 days or 28 days, and they want to be able to experience the destination. So if you really want to experience the destination, that's what's happening. Is the trend is people want to spend more time and they're willing to spend more money. What we're seeing for a trend right now, and MasterCard has confirmed it, we're seeing a 26% increase in spend for travel right now. And that's just the beginning. So when can we expect revenge spending on travel to begin? Well, it started. We're seeing it, and we're seeing it pretty significantly right now. In month of March and April, the floodgates are going to open up even more. And here are some of the reasons why. Well, the vaccine distribution is going very, very well. In the United States, we have 65 million people that have been vaccinated. We're actually right now #2 in the world for the most vaccinated people per capita. #1 country in the world right now is Israel, and they're ahead by far compared to anybody else. But we're also seeing loosening restrictions. Just in the state of Rhode Island, for the longest time, we weren't allowed to go to restaurants. We weren't allowed to go to the bars. There was a lot of restrictions. Now, everybody has the opportunity to go to restaurants. They want to be able to go and go outside and spend some time with their family and friends. You're seeing a lot more people being a lot more comfortable with what's going on. And if you look at Florida, they really didn't have that many restrictions, and they're doing very, very well. Around the world, you're also seeing museums opening up. The Uffizi Gallery is a perfect example. And they've been open since January 21st. So there's really some good news around the world of what's happening. But one of the things that's some good data that we're seeing is that the rise of airport traffic is growing on a daily basis. The TSA reports every day the amount of people that go through their security lines. And obviously we evaluate that on a daily basis. And that's what we're seeing is every day we're seeing an increase, which is great news. So really, at the end of the day, your clients, your customers, they're looking forward to being able to experience travel again. They want to be able to look and seeing the different sites and the culture, and to be able to enjoy all the different foods. You know, it's coming out. It's coming soon, and people are willing to book right now. I know Jeff showed this graph yesterday, Jeff Roy, and I want to show it again because it is that important. Essentially, the S&P Global Ratings is showing that the United Kingdom will have 70% of its population vaccinated by May of this year. The European Union, right now, based on what's contracted, it will be in July. They will have been able to vaccinate 70% of their population. But the good news is this, is that they have additional supplies that are coming in, and that could change to June of 2021. So that's where we're hearing some really good things about the European Union and UK. The UK is going to make a big announcement on April 12th about international travel, and they're going to come out with all these the rules and regulations of how to travel to the United Kingdom. Well, the European Union is going to follow that too. And the G7, which is Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, and Japan, are working very closely together right now on ways to be able to reopen up the borders, because tourism is a big part of the economy. And actually, 1 in 10 jobs around the world is towards tourism. So for the European Union and the United Kingdom, this is something that's very, very important to them. So the United Kingdom is leading the G7 in those conversations right now on reopening the borders. So we're going to learn a lot more on April 12th. But basically, the United Kingdom said that they will have no social restrictions by June 21st. So essentially, it will be back to normal for travel past June 21st, if everything goes back to normal from the vaccine point of view. So how do you choose a travel provider that will do it right for your customers? Well, one of the things that you have to look at evaluating how did the travel provider work with you during the whole crisis, operational, logistically. You know, how did they were able to take care of your customers? You know, one of the things that we were very proud of is that we really took care of the customers and our partners and our employees throughout this whole crisis. And one of the things that we've done also for 2021 is we made sure that we didn't increase any of the pricing because of the pandemic. We kept and honored the pricing in 2020, and we just moved the same pricing in 2021. You have to look at your travel provider. Do they have enough inventory to operate in 2021? Well, currently right now for us, from May 1st until December 31st, we have 50% more inventory than what we operated in 2019. The reason for that is because in 2019, we found that 2020 and 2021 were going to be the biggest years in the company's history. So what we did is we contracted in 2019 for 2021, thinking that we were going to have obviously a need for that much inventory, and we do, and we're seeing it now. Is people are buying and they're looking to fill in as much space, and there's a lot of space that are filling. So that's the good news, is that we have a lot of inventory that's available. But the number one thing that you need to take a look at is really from your travel provider is to make sure that your travel provider number one priority is the well-being of your customers, your guests, and the employees. And that's one thing that we really feel that we've done a good job, is we've taken care of the guests, and that was the number one priority. In October 2007, we had an article that was on Collette where we had refunded over $115 million. And what we did during this whole crisis is that we gave the opportunity, we gave the flexibility for all of the customers. They had the choice of choosing between a travel credit, or if they want to rebook on another departure date, or if they just wanted a full refund. Well, so far right now, this was in October, 115 million. So far, we're well above the $150 million in refund, and it's continuing to grow. Now, we're excited that we'll be able to run some tours in April, but it's something that we want to make sure that we do it right to your customers. So we don't feel it's right that we haven't earned your money until you have traveled, and that's the reason why we were able to refund over $150 million. Whenever you travel with Collette, one of the things that we always recommend, and any time you travel, doesn't matter which tour supplier or if you're going to a hotel or flights or anything, you should always have insurance. And one of the things that we have is our travel protection plan, where people can cancel for any reason up until 24 hours before. We call it the bad hair day policy. Essentially, you can cancel for any reason. If you have a bad hair day and you don't feel like traveling, you can cancel the day before. It's up to, we give that flexibility and that confidence for all the customers to be able to book and know that they're protected prior to the tour. And they feel very comfortable. If ever for some reason, they just don't feel comfortable traveling, they can get their money back except for the cost of the travel protection. So we are committed to making sure the well-being and the enjoyment of all of our guests. We want to make sure that our guests have a great time. But one thing that we promise, and what we'll do, is we'll make sure that we will make sure that you're compliant with any of the regulations, with any of the local governments and areas, depending if it's in the States or in Europe. So if in Europe they're requesting that you have the vaccine or a negative test, we will make sure that you're compliant. We will make sure that you're taken care of, and we communicate everything so that you can just enjoy your trip and not worry about all the rules and regulations of COVID, essentially. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play a video that we played during our centennial anniversary. It's a video that shows who Collette is, and we've been in business for 103 years. It's a family-owned business, and we, all of you. The whole travel industry is part of our family, and we're excited to travel. We can't wait to run our first tours this year in 2021 in April, and I just want to play this one video for you guys. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure spending time with you. I'm kind of jealous that I only got to spend the morning with you, because it sounds like you all had a lot of fun throughout this whole week, and a lot of laughs, a lot of jokes, and so on. And I can't wait to see you all traveling again. This year is the year, and we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm excited right now. This is no longer talking about cancellations. We're no longer talking about all the changes and governments doing restrictions. We're actually talking about travel now. We're actually talking about something that we all enjoy. So thank you for your time. And if you guys have any questions, please ask me as many questions as you want.
Well, you're getting a lot of
want to say a joke,
anyway. Certainly, that was a lot of good information again, Christian. We've had great presentations all week long from industry professionals, and you echo many of their comments. So it's really a message that's being sent home here, I think, to everybody.